Good evening, everybody. And if you could, while standing in line for a drink, not talk unless it's actually to order the drink so that we can let everybody actually focus. And you can't take a drink and walk out. The deal is, if you get a free drink from AOI, you at least have to listen to what I have to say. So this morning, I hope I depressed you sufficiently about the state of the world, where we are, the battle, the war, the struggle that faces us. This evening, I want to tell you a little bit about what we at the Institute are doing about it. What we at the Institute, at least, are focused on for today and for the years to come. There we go. So, I want to start with our mission statement for the Institute. What is it the Ayn Rand Institute does? To remind everybody, we're here to foster growing awareness, understanding, and acceptance of Ayn Rand's philosophy, Objectivism, in order to create a culture whose guiding principles, reason, rational self-interest, individualism, and laissez-faire capitalism. A culture in which individuals are free to pursue their own happiness. We're here to save the Enlightenment, to resurrect the Enlightenment, to save America from the forces both left and right trying to destroy it. And to bring about something new, something that I think the world has never seen, a culture of true reason. To do this, we are focused very much on a young audience. Now, why is this? If you had limited funds and you wanted to convince a group of people of a earth-shattering, new, revolutionary set of ideas, would you spend it on a group of 50-year-olds or on a group of 18-year-olds? Where do you think you'd get more bang for the buck? We go through life, and when we hit those teenage years, those hormones kick in, and we start thinking about the world, and we start thinking for the first time. And we want to be independent, and we want to discover truth. And there's an idealism about youth. And that's the time when the mind is most open to new ideas, most open to something radical, most open to something controversial. You hit about, 30, calcification starts hitting. I mean, how many people do you know change their minds about anything after the age of 30? Never mind earth-shattering philosophical ideas. Now there are exceptions, and I know some of you are exceptions. Some very important yous are exceptions. But again, leverage for the dollar, right? If we could go after everybody, you go after everybody, but we can't. You've got limited resources, limited time, limited number of people. The Institute's always been focused on young people, but we're refocused on that sweet spot between 16 and 30, maybe 16, 25, but it's somewhere in that space that our energy is dedicated to and is going to be dedicated to in the future. Now, one of the things we realized, and I talked about this quite a bit last year if you were at the State of AOI, is where do young people live today? If you'd asked this question 10 years ago, people would say California, New York. Today, where you live physically is not where you're actually living. It's not where you're engaged. It's not where you're engaged in activity with other people. It's not even where you have a community. Today, young people live online. It's a digital generation. So much of the interaction, so much of the learning, so much of the community today exists on Facebook, on Twitter, on things I've never heard of and maybe shouldn't. So we committed ourselves a couple of years ago to creating a presence online, to creating a new website that would, represent these ideas the way they should be represented online and be an attractive place for this young generation to come to. And, I set out last year in the State of ARI our plan. I showed you kind of images of what it was going to look like. They were, some of them were kind of pretty, some of them were pretty rough. And this is what we've been doing over the last year to execute on that. A big chunk of the Institute's resources have gone into this revamping of our website and the creation of this new website. Not just money, time, but an enormous amount of intellectual resources have gone into it. And I'll give you a few samples of what that is.
Suggests that this is a pie in the sky.
I don't give a damn about my critics.
But what about the woman at the center of it all?
Who are you, Ayn Rand?
Growing up in Tsarist Russia, she found a passion for writing. But Rand's life was turned upside down by a revolution that suppressed the individual in the name of collectivism and eventually threatened her safety. In 1926, she escaped to America and found sanctuary in the place that had fueled her imagination. On her second day in Hollywood, she met a director. He gave her a job. Her first week there, she met an actor. He gave her a ring. By the 30s, Rand was developing as a writer of plays, of movies, and novels. But it was the runaway success of her third novel that changed everything and laid the foundation for her most ambitious work. The heroes of her novels had always embodied her philosophy, but Atlas Shrugged was the boldest articulation of her ideas yet. Her worldview now had a name. Rand continued to elaborate and explain objectivism with dozens of books, articles, and lectures. The power of her ideas took America by storm, while the uncompromising force of her personality propelled her into the spotlight and kept her there, even after her death. To this day, decades later, her ideas continue to stir debate and inspire passion for the enduring spirit of individualism.
Thanks. So that's a taste of the kind of videos that we produced for this new website. Again, I think a focus on young, a focus on, short, which is young. The look and feel, I think the website now is a lot more, is engaging, is exciting, is interesting. You can now go on the website and declare, in a sense, how familiar you are with these ideas. And as a consequence of that, you would get fed. By the way, there are going to be photographs of a lot of the staff. That's Keith Lockitch. A lot of staff associated with some parts of the website appearing. I'm not going to name them all, but just to give you a sense of the people involved in the creation of this website, and just generally, in a sense of the people involved at the Institute. So once you declare kind of your level of understanding, your level of interest in the website, in objectivism, you're going to be fed particular material that is customized based on the answers you gave to the little quiz. If you haven't done that yet, please go to the website, please fill it out, register, start interacting with what's on there. There's a lot of new material. There's a lot of, I think, interesting content for all of you. I think one of the fun pages we have there is basically every one of Ayn Rand's books. A page is dedicated to all those books, and if you click on any one of those books, you get real content around the books, new content that we've written for those particulars. So for example, if it's a novel, there'll be an analysis of characters, a plot, of the different aspects related to the novel. All this is new content that was written specifically for the website. And this was done in a very short period of time as we were building the site. Ideas, there's a whole section of ideas. And again, if you read about the section on self-interest, it's written in a way that's supposed to engage a new audience. This isn't for people familiar with objectivism, that have studied it deeply, at least not at this level. This is primarily for new people, primarily for those young people who've been exposed maybe to a novel, maybe read a little bit about a newspaper article about Ayn Rand, and are coming, because what do they do today? First thing they do, right? They hear this interesting woman, Ayn Rand. What do they first thing they do is they Google her. And this is the site they're going to come to. So everything on the site is geared towards that. This section, we call it internally the blue section. We've got blue and yellow. This is where we talk about the ideas. This is where we talk about the novels. This is where we talk about Ayn Rand, her life, who she was. This is what we hope will be the first place that people interact with these ideas after reading about her or reading one of the novels. This is where, out of our high school programs, we're hoping that these kids will come to and interact with it. The other side is the yellow side. The yellow side is more of the commentary. The yellow side is more of where we're updating day-to-day, commenting on the news, the application, the activism. So there's a section on ARI in action, and here's a short video.
Wondering who needs a philosophy? She answered that. To deal with real life, we need a view of the world and our place in it. Now, some people have strong opinions on objectivism. It's a philosophy that's controversial because it advocates selfishness and says altruism is evil. But we'll get back to that. Rand's philosophy looks something like this. It starts with the idea that reality is objective. The universe is what it is, not what we want it to be, and wishing otherwise won't make it so. Next, it states that our reason is all we have and all we need for understanding the world around us. And if reason is an absolute, you can't accept contradictions. It also says your highest moral purpose should be the pursuit of your own selfish happiness. Now, selfishness can be misinterpreted. It doesn't mean exploit others for your own gain. It means realize your highest potential by pursuing rational ends and live in harmony with others by respecting their right to their own life and happiness. The result of this philosophy is a life of reason, purpose, self-esteem, a philosophy for living on Earth.
If you know that this life is all that you have, wouldn't you make the most of it?
So another example of the kind of videos we're putting up, and the kind of, this is a quick 2-minute introduction to objectivism. That somebody new to the website gets a quick sense of what this is about, what the idea is about, in a very friendly way that is supportive of what their idea is. Now they're resetting the presentation, so we're going to be back on screen in a couple of minutes, or in a minute, hopefully, right? And we're gonna skip a little bit ahead in the presentation. So we're gonna skip to after the website. That yellow part of the website, has a blog. It has a list of all our events, and you'll see a significant number of all those. You'll see kind of, if you go to the events section, you'll get a sense of the level of activity that we're engaged in on a regular basis. There's a list there of every single engaged. Okay, so there it is, Voices for Reason. There's our blog. I encourage you all to go there. It's updated literally every day with sometimes one blog post, often several blog posts. It's an exciting place where you get the latest commentary out of the Institute. Some of the commentary we've got from people who've looked at the site, I think the site is really cool, and I hope you do too, and I hope you enjoy it. Major upgrade, a nice modern design, gives us credibility. Since launch, now at the end of the day, you got to have measures for what is success. Well, we've seen visits increase, we've seen registered users increase. And this is kind of a funny metric because it's the amount of time people spend on a page, right? And this is where I feel old. But I guess this is how I use the web as well, right? So in the old site, people spent 1 minute 16 seconds on a page. I mean, what can you do in 1 minute 16 seconds? Almost nothing, right? Now they're spending over 2 minutes on a page. This is huge success, people. It's almost double the time. You can read double the amount. It's everybody's become a speed reader, I guess. No, this is important. These are the kind of measures that people look at when evaluating websites. And the whole idea of this website was to keep people on the site, to keep people on the page, to get them engaged, to get them to interact with the website. So a matrix that increases where you measure how long they spend is a metric of success. So we're excited about this. We'd like to see it even go longer. We're evaluating which pages work and which pages don't, where they spend time, where they don't spend time, what blog posts people read and what they don't read. On every one of these pages, we're going to go through and make evaluations and design matrices in order to figure out what's working and what's not working. And the new website allows us to do that on a regular, systematic basis and then make adjustments accordingly. And part of our whole new strategy, of course, has also been to go to where people are living, which means Facebook and Twitter. And these are just some statistics about Facebook. We've gone from 17,000 to 43,000 likes for the Ayn Rand Institute in just the last 6 months or year since launch. It's in less than 6 months, and we've gone from 365,000 likes to 412,000 likes on Facebook for the Ayn Rand page. So these numbers are increasing, which is phenomenal. Having 400,000 people like Ayn Rand means that 400,000. I don't know how the streaming stuff in the Facebook goes. I use Facebook, but I have no idea how it works. But the fact is that they're getting messages for us, right? They're getting the stuff that we post on at 400,000 people. This is how you build a movement. This is how you get scale. So these are important things that, again, we've been investing significant amount of resources in. We're starting to see the beginnings of success here. A lot more work to be done, and we'll talk a little bit about our future plans for the website, for another big expansion of the website in a little while. Okay, we're going after young people. So let's look at some of our programs beyond web that go after young people and how we do it. I mean, most of you are familiar with our high school programs, but I want to remind you and highlight a few things. So we start out with the Free Books to Teachers program. For those of you who don't know, we offer every English teacher in the United States and many social sciences teachers in the United States free copies of Ayn Rand's books, if they promise to teach the books. Okay. And when we started this program, we thought it would be, a few thousand books we'd ship out, a few teachers here and there would be interested in Ayn Rand. But it turns out that there's a huge amount of interest out there in free books and in Ayn Rand's books for free. And this last year, over the program, life of the program, we've shipped just over 3 million books. 3 million books. Which means that if they're read once, that's 3 million kids have read the books. And if they're used more than once, potentially 6, 9, 10 million over the last 8 years that the program has existed have read these books. I mean, this is phenomenal because, as I think has been mentioned in the conference a number of times, there's nothing like the experience of reading those novels when you're young, when you're open to these ideas, when you're thinking about life and the world around you, to change you. It's that model of the heroes of the novel that really changed people's lives. We also run the largest high school essay contest in the world, as far as we know, certainly in the United States. This last year we had 22,000 essays, which is, again, a pretty spectacular number. These are kids who don't just read the book, but they read the book and then write an essay on it. And we heard from, who told the story about? Yeah, Dr. Baer told the story, right? Ben told the story that he's not even counted in this number, the 355,151. That doesn't count Ben Baer, who still intended to write an essay, but never got to complete it or send it in, right? But because we have an essay contest, read the book, and was thinking about it actively because he planned to write an essay even though he never completed that. So 355,000 essays were submitted. Many, many, many more essays were written or thought about or intended, which gets us what we want, because it's not the essay we value, it's the thinking and the reading that we value. Right? So this program has impacted huge numbers. I mean, a lot of the young intellectuals, I think, in Objectivism today started out through the essay contest. This is a quote from a teacher that we just got, I think, a couple of weeks ago from one of our teachers who got the books. She taught Anthem, Fountainhead, and Atlas Shrugged to classrooms, and then she had small reading groups where she encouraged the students to read them. It's because of her ability to teach them. It's because of our ability to get the books free that made it possible for her to teach them. The school district would have never bought her the books, right? They're not that friendly to Ayn Rand. So the teacher, the teacher who wants to teach them is never going to teach them unless we provide those books for her. We also have we've launched in the last year reading programs for students interested in getting more in depth into this. Last year we did an Atlas Shrugged summer reading program for high school students and for college students. And I think we're launching an Anthem reading program. We plan on having a Fountainhead reading program. Again, students who want to be more engaged, who want to understand this, during the summer, we communicate with them. We send them material on a weekly basis based on their progress in reading the books. We want to engage with them. We want to get them excited about the novels. We want to supply them with intellectual material that supports their reading of the novels. We also realize that if we can get teachers to be enthusiastic, again, if you go back to the Ben Baer's talk from a couple of days ago, and I know some of you weren't there, but one of the things Ben did is he asked the audience, how many of them received the book from somebody they valued who recommended the book to them? And that was the overwhelming number of people who had read Ayn Rand, who'd read Atlas Shrugged, were first exposed to it from somebody they respected and who was enthusiastic, who recommended it. So we've launched over the next year a task force to think about how do we find and support and encourage enthusiastic teachers. To take all the teachers, but then how do we find that subgroup of enthusiastic teachers? Because we believe, and this is something we intend to test and figure out, we believe that those enthusiastic teachers are going to have a more profound impact on their students than just the teachers who just assign the book because it's one more book that you have to get through. So one of the things that we're developing right now are programs for enthusiastic teachers, or how to get teachers to be enthusiastic. And this is our new teacher initiatives that we're going to be launching this year and in the years to come. This is going to be a process. We're going to try to figure out which programs work and which programs don't. This is a data intensive. We're gonna do a lot of surveys. We've got a lot of data that has come in from all our book projects, from all the essay contests, which teachers teach the books, which ones do we get essays from, who communicates with us, who doesn't communicate with us. As you heard from this morning, big data's in, and we're gonna get involved with big data. So we're developing new teacher resources to make it easier for them to teach the books, new videos, CDs we can sell them, teacher guides that are more extensive. There's a lot in the works. Now this is, again, going to be rolled out over time, and we're going to test as we roll it out what works, what doesn't work. We're going to do workshops with teachers online and in person. Again, see what has a bigger effect and where teachers get more enthusiastic. So focus on the teachers to get to the students. Beyond high school, what we really want to get, what our vision really is to activate a student movement. We want to have an objectivist student movement. We don't today. We have students. We have kind of an objectivist movement, but we don't have an objectivist student movement that is active on campus, that's engaged, that's connected. That clubs and objectivists in California connected with clubs and objectivists in New York, that connected with clubs and objectivists in Texas, that they're talking to one another, they engage with one another, that they interact with intellectuals across the country, that it's something that's dynamic and active and engaged, that there's a community aspect to it, and an activism aspect to it, and an educational aspect to it, that they're studying these ideas together, and they're learning from one another. So we want to establish this. This is going to take a while. It's a long-term goal that we're engaged in. I just said what a student movement is. A little behind. Okay, we start with campus clubs. We have campus clubs around the country, and we want to establish more. We want to get them spread out, particularly at the major universities, at the top universities, the Ivy League schools. We want to get as many clubs as possible. We want to get them active and engaged. We supply these clubs with material to study objectivism. We send speakers to their campuses. The 29 events, 3,500 is over the last year. This is not just objectivist student clubs. These are events that AOI has held on campuses over the last school year for a variety of different student clubs. All time, we think we've done about 630 talks on campuses, reached over 50,000 students with our speaking events. We want to accelerate this. We want to grow it, intensify it, reach more students, and get more clubs and individual students engaged in this process.
I had read her fiction, but I was not at all familiar with her philosophy.
I really only had a basic feeling for the information, not really a reasonable grasp of the information. We really boiled down the philosophy to its essentials, to its principles. The instructors were very easy to interact with. They were always free for questions outside of class.
This is an amazing professional opportunity for anybody.
Skills that we've learned, how to do an interview, how to write a cover letter, how to do a resume that really grabs you. These are things that I never got at college.
Everyone else was just so nice, and there wasn't anyone that I couldn't just walk up and talk to.
Every conversation that we had, no matter where it was, you go out to lunch, you have a debate about something, and it's intellectual, it's engaging. The people have vastly different opinions. They're from all over the country.
People actually think through what they believe in here, and they have this kind of conviction in what they believe in, and it's really fun to just debate with them, and you just learn so much more.
Everybody just wants you to succeed.
Yeah.
Everybody here just really is invested in your success later on in life, and they want you to do good things.
So one of the funnest periods at the institute in our building is when we have these interns come in just before OCON, so it's a hectic time, but it's just those few first weeks, 3 weeks in June, and we get 30, this year was 20, but 20 to 30 students into the building. They spend 8-10 hours at AOI. They engage both in research and work and helping us with office stuff. and in classes and in Q&As, and it's just a thrill. Many of them have just read one of Ayn Rand's books. Some of them are more familiar with objectivism. It's a nice mixture. And again, we're trying to encourage an objectivist student movement. We're trying to get students engaged. We're trying to get students excited. And we're hoping that these students go back to their campuses and bring what they've learned at the Institute to their campuses. And again, some of the top universities in the country. We're also engaged with other student movements. There are a lot of other free market think tanks out there, or not other, but there are free market think tanks out there. And many of the students, many of them have read Ayn Rand, but not all of them have read Ayn Rand, and many of them have read some Ayn Rand, but not enough Ayn Rand. What we've been doing the last few years is offering these other think tanks for their student programs free copies of Ayn Rand's fiction and nonfiction if they promise to distribute it to those students. And we've distributed 21,000 books since 2011, a variety of different fiction, nonfiction, depending on the particular group, depending on their interests. And again, trying to seed all across kind of the student universe these ideas.
The OAC is a distance learning program that meets twice a week online. We have one philosophy class a week, and then we have one communications class a week that focuses primarily on writing and speaking.
I became interested in the OAC first by reading Ayn Rand's fiction and then later her nonfiction, and then following what the Ayn Rand Institute is doing. And I wanted to study philosophy and objectivism on a deeper level, so I decided to apply to the program.
A typical philosophy lecture, for example, began with Dr. Gate asking the class a question that appeared on a previous homework assignment, and then he invited students to respond to that question, and there was typically a brief discussion, and lectures stemmed from there.
What I liked best about the OAC program was the opportunity to really deepen my intellectual understanding of objectivism and to engage with people who are really experts in the field.
What I liked best about the OAC was receiving very candid feedback from the professors and my fellow students. And that's something that I think I didn't get as much in college, actually.
Anyone who's interested in learning more about objectivism on a deeper level should apply to the OAC. At a minimum, I would say you need to be enthusiastic and passionate about Ayn Rand's philosophy and interested in promoting it in the culture.
So each year in the Objectivist Academic Center, we accept about 20 individuals for one year core course in philosophy and communicating that philosophy. It's all about objectivism. It's all about deepening your understanding of objectivism. And then those students who finish that core course then graduate into advanced seminars in objectivism to really prepare them for intellectual careers. This is really focused primarily on people really interested in making the objectivism or having an intellectual career within academia or in a kind of policy think tank like AOI or others, but was committed to the ideas of objectivism. Now, this is kind of what we do today, but we need to do a lot more in order to really get a student movement going, because we don't have one and we've been doing these programs for quite a while. So we need to re-gear, refocus, rethink what we're doing, and that's what we are doing, continue to do, will continue to do as we move into the future. We've revamped our presence, our kind of structure internally in dealing with college campus clubs and college campuses generally. We're broadening our work on campuses to more than just objectivist clubs, but more broadly beyond objectivist clubs. Well, you can go back to OCON. We had this student weekend here at OCON, right? We invited, for almost free, students to come. We have the largest number of students ever at an OCON, at this OCON. About 110 students are here. We're going to learn from what happened this week because it's our first time. We're going to intensify our efforts to get students in for next year. So if you know students who didn't come this time, next year we're going to make it even more enticing. We're going to figure out ways and again, continue to tinker with the model to figure out how to make this a much more exciting program for all of you, but in particular for this group that we're really excited about, that we really want to energize, and that we believe that the future, our future, the future of the Western civilization, depends on. We're networking with other student groups on campus, including non-objectivists. And we've partnered with the Undercurrent to really try to focus on campuses. Now, the Undercurrent has an advantage that they're students. Right? And as students, they relate to other students in a way that, you know, this organization out there in Irvine is kind of top-down, where, you know, we have Ayn Rand in our title, we're the Ayn Rand Institute. The Undercurrent can probably do things that it's easier for them to do than we can do. And therefore, we're going to partner in. We're experimenting this year. We've got kind of a division of labor on how we're going to do this. We share the same goals in terms of creating this intellectual movement. So we're very excited about what's going to happen over the next years into the future with this partnership and with our kind of renewed focus and renewed energy around a student movement and our presence on campus. So we're excited about this. Brittany's here from the Undercurrent, and they're doing a great job. So thank you, Brittany, for partnering with us. And we think this is the beginning of great things. Now, we're going to do a little transition here. Because the Undercurrent brings up a project that I'm going to invite Carl Barney to come up and talk about. And it relates to other organizations other than the Institute. And Carl, I think it's on. Is that going to be on?
Hello.
Yeah, it's on.
It's on.
Go for it, Carl.
Boy, this is bright. I have an exciting, brand new announcement to make regarding something which I believe is very much needed and will help advance objectivism and understanding and knowledge of Ayn Rand. Can I have the clicker?
Yeah, I guess.
Thank you. What do I do? This is forward?
Green,
Okay.
just green.
I want to announce brand new Atlas Venture Fund. It's going to be initially funded with $1 million. You know, in business, there's such a thing as called a capital venture fund. This is for new businesses or to grow fledgling businesses, or there's a scholarship fund which helps students go through college. Well, the Atlas Venture Fund is to liberate the ideas of young or not so young objectivists who have ideas and energy, but they need some funding to launch them or make them grow. Okay. I want to quote from The Fountainhead. You know, there's this exchange where this businessman says, you know, I don't go for this intellectual stuff. And the arch villain, Ellsworth Toohey, says, well, I do. I play the stock market of the spirit, and I sell short. Well, the idea of the Atlas Fund is we're playing the stock market for the future of the culture, and we are going long. Now, the things that we're going to finance with the Atlas Fund are not the same as ARI. That's their programs. But these are the kinds of things, just an example of the kind of things that the Atlas Fund could finance. The undercurrent, as Yaron was talking about, at one time they needed some money to print more of the Undercurrent, which is a terrific magazine. It's written by students. They're uncompromising. They're intelligent, great articles. They wanted a little extra money, and the predecessor to this fund, which we're now starting, provided a little fund for that. They also have a conference coming up in October, and they need a little fund for that, and the Atlas Fund is providing some money for that. Alex Epstein, he's got a new book coming out. Perhaps he would like to apply, send a proposal to the Atlas Fund to help with the marketing and some of the other things he's doing. Does this sort of, no, get back.
You want to go back?
Yeah, there we go. Jason Crawford is always coming up with ideas on how to advance subjectivism, and now he's got a program that he wants to get Ayn Rand books into the hands of students, and perhaps he needs a little funding. And that's the kind of thing that the Atlas Fund would perhaps provide. And LaPorte Schools, great organization. They're getting support. One of the things I think is a terrific example of liberating the ideas and energy. Arad Boaz is here from Israel. When I visited Israel a couple of years ago, I met Boaz. He's doing all kinds of great things already in Israel, and he needed a little extra funding so that he could further these ideas, and he's done amazing things in the last couple of years. I encourage you to talk to Boaz, get to know what he's doing. Okay, now, as Yaron let me turn this. It's one of my favorite quotes from Ayn Rand, Men of Vision. But you know, a little funding can help that vision along. And that's the purpose of the fund. Now, this still is a non-solicitation a free zone. So would you send your proposals to me at the Atlas Venture Fund, care of the Ayn Rand Institute at Alton Parkway. Okay, I'm excited about this. I think this could do, yeah. If we can find these ideas, and who knows where some of these ideas may go. And I'm really, really pleased to have this, this new fund. Hope you are too. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you, Carl. So this is a fund that is Carl's fund. This is not a project of the Ayn Rand Institute, just to be clear, but I think it's incredibly important. This is an opportunity. I mean, the Institute cannot do everything. The Institute cannot do everything. There's some things that are just not appropriate for the Institute to do, some things that you guys can do better than we can do. This is the opportunity to take those ideas and make them a reality, and that's, if you've got ideas, that's where to send them to, and the fund will decide whether to fund you or not. One of our programs for those young people who have taken the OAC, who are really engaged in intellectual life, who want to pursue an intellectual career at the Institute or at a policy-type organization, is the Junior Fellow Program. And this is where we're asking for, we take in 2 Junior Fellows. Of those 2 Junior Fellows, we might offer them a permanent job, we might not offer them a permanent job, but they get to spend a year at the Institute doing research, working, studying objectivism. And we've hired 2 of our Junior Fellows over the last couple of years. Amanda and Carl have both joined the Institute. Carl just recently accepted a position at the Institute full-time. After finishing, he'll be finished with the junior fellowship in the next couple of months. So this is an exciting way for us to grow our in-house intellectuals, our staff in-house that are writing, speaking, delivering the content that we all value. as part of this idea of going after young people, when we go to Washington, and we do go to Washington, and as many of you know, we have offices in Virginia, we don't go and speak to politicians. Actually, I've asked Lynn not to schedule me with any politicians because I used to do those meetings, and it's a big waste of time. At least I found it to be a big waste of time. You don't get anywhere. But you know who is in Washington that you can get to and who's really interesting and interested? Are the staffers of these congressmen. It turns out that the people who read the bills, write the bills, and tell the congressmen how to vote on the bills, their average age is 26. That's in my sweet spot, right? 15, 16 to 30. So we run briefings for congressional staffers. And we've been doing this for 2 years now, 3 years? 3 years. We just had a last one where I think we got the highest attendance ever. We got about 100 attendees at the last briefing, which is a huge number. I've been to a briefing other organizations have done, and if they get a dozen or they get 20, that's a good number. To get 100 is phenomenal. So we're very excited. Again, we're going after young people with these radical, important ideas that are going to change the world. We also are orienting at least some of our work, a significant amount of our work, in policy, in what we write about, to issues that young people are interested in, issues that young people should be interested in if they're not. Ritu is writing a lot about Obamacare from the perspective of how this is victimizing the young, how this is a massive redistribution of wealth from the young, right? How this is an altruistic attempt to sacrifice the young for the sake of the sick. So that perspective, these are issues that young people should be engaged in, should be interested in. And we're hoping to attract more and more of their attention. This is one of our articles that was published in Forbes that got 105,000 views, which is a fantastic number on the web, or reads. And of course, Don's work on the entitlement state, again, focused very much on trying to wake up young Americans to the reality of what's going on, trying to energize them around a program that rejects the welfare state, that unburdens the enormous amount of debt that has been placed on their shoulders. And I don't know if you've seen the book, but the book is in the customer service. I think if you're under 25, we're offering the book for free. Want to make sure. But the book is available for sale. Don is here to sign, right? Don is eager to sign the books. Please pick up a copy, read it, get young people to buy it. It's available electronically. What's the price now, Don? It's pretty cheap, right? It's going to be free on PDF, so you'll be able to get it for free on PDF. We want to get this book into the hands of as many young people as possible. We're going to use our campus networks to try to distribute this book out there. And really, again, this is part of our attempt to engage a student movement, to engage them around particular issues, particular topics that are philosophical. And Don's book brings in philosophy. It's not just one of these conservative or libertarian economic analysis. It's much more than that. This is about morality. This is about fundamental ideas. And of course, we write regular op-eds, we write regular articles, and I'm going to speed it up a little bit because we started late. We've done over the last year, the Institute has done about 137 events since last OCON. Speaking events, debates, panels, combined audiences of over 13,000 people. So our message is getting out there in a variety of different ways. We've also spoken internationally, and this is kind of a graph. We're cheating a little bit here. This is the last 18 months and a little bit of projection into the next few months because I wanted to include China. I thought that would be cool. I'm going to be delivering, 5, 6 different talks in China in September. So we've included September of what's going to happen. But for the first time, as far as I know in objectivist history, there is real demand outside of the United States for objectivist speakers. I mean, I'm almost getting an invitation a week from some obscure place in Europe. And it's hard to actually provide enough, to get there often enough to fill in the demand. But it's quite striking. And South America is abuzz, and there's a lot that can be done in South America. I hear rumors, I haven't got complete confirmation, and there's a master's program in objectivism just started at a university in Guatemala, at UFM in Guatemala. So pretty amazing stuff. So internationally, it's exciting, and indeed, yes. We're starting to think about what can we do with this. Now, Carl introduced Boaz, who's been running ARC Israel for the last year and a half. Yeah, it's about a year and a half, 2 years, and really done a phenomenal job there. Brought in speakers from the U.S. Tara Smith has been there. I've been there. Shoshana's been there. And we intend to continue the program. We're talking to Israeli universities where we're going to be able to do real programs with Israeli universities to bring in Ayn Rand into university. Boaz has some terrific contacts in the media, and he's regularly being publicized in the media. So there's real stuff going on in Israel, who I left for dead, years ago. You laugh, but it's true. And it's a small country. Who knows, right? It's a tiny little country. Who knows what you can do in a small space? I was just in Europe a few weeks ago, and there's interest among a number of people to establish an ARI Europe, and there's some volunteers already jumping up that they want to do it, and there might be some funding available to do it. So there's real excitement, and again, there's real demand, particularly in Northern Europe and Scandinavia and in Britain. In the UK, there's enormous amount of energy around Ayn Rand. 10 years ago when I went to London, you couldn't find a book in the bookstores. Nobody knew who she was, and the think tanks there, Ayn Rand, who cares? Today, they're all interested, they're all engaged. I mean, they're not objectivists, but they all want to engage. In any bookstore you walk into in London, you will find a shelf of Ayn Rand's books. I mean, you go to Oxford University, and the books are at the bookstore there. You go to Cambridge, the books are there. So, England, just in a short period of time, in a very short period of time, has dramatically changed in terms of their attitude. And if you read The Guardian, I can't believe any of you actually do read The Guardian, but The Guardian and so the other rags in England, they talk about Ayn Rand all the time. I mean, usually condemn her, but 10 years ago, nobody felt the need to condemn her. The fact that they feel the need to condemn her, wow, that's huge progress, huge progress. And then there's a lot of interest in doing something in Latin America. Again, we're trying to find the people, we're trying to find the funding, but there's a lot of interest even there. So, and there's a lot of demand, and I get emails all the time from people in Chile, in Colombia, Venezuela of all places, certainly Brazil and Argentina. I mean, there are people in Venezuela needs it more than anybody, right? And they are suffering. They're suffering statism in a way that's hard for us here to imagine how bad things are there. So they're looking for ideas. So internationally, there's amazing progress. Now, I still think that the web is crucial for our student movement, and the web is crucial for educating people in objectivism, for getting objectivism as a philosophy. We can bring into the OAC 20 students. We can bring in interns, 30 students. But we need a revolution. We need thousands of students, tens of thousands of students, hundreds of thousands, and Carl is looking at me, say millions of students, right? So we need to create a place on the web where we can engage with hundreds of thousands, with millions. And the web allows us for that, right? You put something up on the web, and the marginal cost of one more person listening to that or watching that is exactly zero. I mean, it's really putting it up and then marketing. But that's it. It's done. And millions of people can watch what you put up there, the course that you put up there, the educational content that you put up. So our goal with ARI Campus has been to provide the educational content in objectivism to tens, hundreds of thousands of students. And we've already put up a number of courses. These are some of the newest ones, and I encourage everybody to go there. We're in the process of putting up all of Leonard's courses that will be available, Leonard Peikoff's courses. Well, ultimately, all of them will be available for free as part of AOI Campus. And I mean, you guys, I know some of you will sympathize with this, but I remember the days where I was just too poor to afford these courses, right? And we used to gather up in small groups to listen to them because we can somehow afford it all together, right? And now they're available at the e-store for 99 cents a lecture, and soon they're going to be available for free with quizzes and with added material and with added content. You can already go up and watch Objective Communication, the first few lectures in that, and we're rolling out the rest of the lectures over the next few months. A history of philosophy, all of that is going to be rolled out. Already you can find a few of the courses up there. We're going to be adding content, and this is going to be a massive educational resource for young people, old people, whoever, in objectivism. Now we have time for this. Let's do this, and I'll rush through the rest. This is a promo for one of the videos.
Progress achieved by capitalism in a brief span of time, the spectacular improvement in the conditions of man's existence on Earth is a matter of historical record. It is not to be hidden, evaded, or explained away by all the propaganda of capitalism's enemies. But what needs special emphasis is the fact that this progress was achieved by non-sacrificial means.
So that video is on YouTube as a marketing video for the course, What is Capitalism? Or the lecture, What is Capitalism? Which is available on the AOI campus with video and with Ayn Rand's voice. And it's free, and I encourage you all to go and watch it. I encourage you all to recommend it to friends. I mean, nothing beats hearing these ideas from Ayn Rand in her voice. I mean, I think it's terrific. So all of that's available. Now I'm gonna speed through these slides because we're running late, so I'm not gonna go in detail over these. But our next phase we're working on right now on really creating a real massive education machine that can provide meaningful experiences, create understanding and acceptance, ultimately, of Ayn Rand's philosophy of objectivism. This is what Ayn Rand Campus is going to be. We're working through with the same team that helped us create the website that we now have. This is going to be the next stage in that website. I'm just going to run through some of these are wireframes, they're black and white, but I'm not going to spend too much time. But the idea is we're going to have tracks of different courses. Don't pay attention to titles because these are just made up right now. This is, again, very much schematic. Every one of these tracks will have courses inside of it. Every course will have audio or video. We'll have supplemental material. We'll have long-form content and short-form content, a variety of different experiences that you will have with the material, again, geared to a young audience, geared to an audience that wants to, study these ideas. At the end of the day, if we're going to change the world, the world is young people. In 20 years, I'll be pretty old. And there's going to have to be this whole other generation that comes about. If we can't get to young people, we lose. If we can't get to young people, we lose. So everything we do has to be geared around the younger generation, the high school kids, the college kids, the young professionals. We need a student movement. We need campus clubs. We need books and articles that appeal to the broad population, but in particular appeal to young, engaged, intellectual, curious young people. We need the web. This is how this is the future. It's the present already, right? But it's certainly the future. This is the way we communicate. This is the way young people learn about the world. This is where they live. It's a digital generation. To do that, we need your help. The Institute needs to grow. It needs to grow a lot. I described this morning the enemy that we face. It's pretty well funded, right? Every university in the country, the U.S. government, pretty much every government in the world today, right? Every environmentalist group, every leftist think tank. If you think about their funding, it's in the tens or hundreds of billions of dollars. Our budget is somewhere between $9 to $10 million. That's M, and theirs is B, right? I don't expect to raise $1 billion tonight. But anything you can do. We are fighting for your values, for your ideas, changing the world. And everything helps. $50 helps, $100 helps, $1 million help. Well, I mean, we got the, I mean, objectivism. You know, we've got the vision, we've got a program, we've got a strategy, we've got people. And another interesting thing, you know, when I started at the Institute 14 years ago, which is hard to believe, but 14 years ago, the issue really was we didn't need that much money. We didn't have the people. We couldn't execute. They'd given us $10 million. We couldn't do anything with it. We didn't have the people to do it. We have the people today. We have the programs. We can grow. We can execute. We can change the world. But to do that, we need your help. So contribute. You can do it today. You can do it tomorrow. Do it soon. Right? Help us out. And for those of you who do contribute, those of you who do help us out today, thank you all, and enjoy the rest of the conference.